going on, everybody? In today's video, we're going to be talking about Coming to America, a 30-year-old sequel long in the waits, okay? But before we get into that, I need everybody to like, subscribe, and tap that notification bell one time. It's fairly easy. I just want to make sure that everybody is aware of everything I post this year, all right? But without further ado, let's get into this review. Before we jump into Coming to America 2, I want to talk a little bit about the original film, Coming to America. Now, I'm not going to get into any exaggerant details, okay? I just want to show the correlation between the two films because, yes, it is a sequel, and they're going to draw from things from the previous film. Now, the thing that I've been seeing a lot of people say online and in these articles is that it was cheesy, and the way that they stuck to so many of the previous kind of jokes and tidbits wasn't a good payoff for this film. But I beg to differ. I enjoyed the fact that they were able to tap into the old film, yet stay a new film. Now, I want to talk about the first one for a sec. Eddie Murphy's character, Prince Azeem, is a prince, and his father is trying to arrange a marriage for him for a neighboring country so they can have less war and more money. But Eddie Murphy is like, nah, man, I want to go find myself and find true love. I don't want to be married to someone just so she's my wife. I want to have a connection, which is something very different in their 100 years of laws. You know, these type of kingdoms, they don't play that type of stuff. You're going to marry who you're going to marry so that kingdoms can join. But he ends up going, falls in love, comes back, everyone grows from the movie, all right? I'm just want to keep a bow on it. Let's keep it simple. Now, in this movie, we find Eddie Murphy. He's now the king because his father passes away, and he's the ruler. Now, he has 3 daughters. Of course, when you have daughters, a queen cannot rule the kingdom. So he's kind of like at his wit's end with what's going on. I mean, Wesley Snipes is the neighboring chief or the neighboring president or the lord of that country, and I really enjoyed his character. He was so funny. There's a part where Blackman comes out and they're just freaking going back and forth like he showed him how to be Mufasa. I'm talking about, it was so funny. I really enjoyed a lot of these comical moments, and he was a pretty new character, so that's what I'm saying. Even though they pulled a lot from the first film, they had so many nice and cool things that kind of entertained us. It kind of reintroduced us, if I could say that better. And it showed us a lot more cooler things. What we did see in this movie was that while Eddie Murphy was off having a, queen's visit in New York, he accidentally had a child, and this bastard child grew up 30 years without him. So at the end of the day, we have a neighboring chief who's trying to merge with Zamunda, and that is Eddie Murphy's country. And he doesn't have a son to marry off so that he can have a kingdom. And if he lets his daughter marry one of his sons, then he's gonna rule the kingdom. So luckily and very ironically, this movie does a lot of that. A lot of luckily moments, and we're looking for him and we find him. Eddie Murphy goes to Queens, he finds him, he just asks a couple questions and he really just runs into him like it's nothing. And that's something that I was a little bit not forthcoming with the movie, is that there was a lot of moments that were just very written. It's just so lucky. There wasn't a lot of hardship. I mean, they flew from New York to Africa, New York to Africa like it was nothing, and they never batted an eye. They didn't show nobody sleeping. Like, it was just very, very, luckily written, this script. So we have the kid, and pretty much we have the same plot. We have the same motive, all right? He has to marry off his son, but at the end of the day, the son falls in love with someone else and wants to be with that person. And Eddie Murphy's character has to essentially feel what his father felt all those years ago when he abandoned his country to go find true love. And his father was forced to get over it. And I guess this movie was kind of like a turn in Eddie Murphy's life. Like, it just shows you 30 years later, now he's having to deal with what his father had to deal with. And ultimately, he kind of goes for it because he could relate to his new son that he just found out about. Now, the movie has a lot more elements to it, guys, but they're not really worth me getting into detail. I just want to point out the fact that the first movie has a lot of cool things with the sequel that are the same, but also the sequel did a lot of cooler stuff, man. I mean, they actually showed you Wesley Snipes' village. They showed him his country. I even saw Rick Ross in this movie, which is so funny because they shot a lot of the movie in Rick Ross's mansion. He has like 250 acres out in Atlanta, Rick Ross, and they actually like rented it and shot it, and he had a little role in the movie. I thought that was tight, man. Shout out to you, Ross. But ultimately, I don't want to shit on this movie. I'm actually gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I've seen a lot of low ratings just going on YouTube lately, but I don't want to shit on it, man. I took it with a grain of salt, just like I tell y'all to, a grain of salt, grain of sand, and I really enjoyed it, man. It was a fresh little movie. It wasn't great, it wasn't fantastic, but it wasn't shitty, and it wasn't a poor quality movie. It was very good quality. I mean, everything about it was very sharp. I kind of found Eddie Murphy to give me this Martin Lawrence vibe, okay? Have you guys seen Bad Boys 4, where Martin Lawrence is kind of like not in it anymore? Like, I don't know how to explain it. I've never really spoken about it out loud before, but it just seems like they're doing it to do it, and they don't really have like that drive to do it. Not saying that Eddie Murphy didn't do a good job in this movie, but I just wasn't really feeling like his love for it, if that makes any sense. And I know the movie's been postponed. It was supposed to come out in 2020 and all this jazz. They're shooting Beverly Hills Cop 5 or something like that. Look, I know that Eddie Murphy did a really good job with this movie, okay? So I'm definitely going to respect the GOAT, and I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Do you agree? Have you watched Coming to America? Did you hate it? Did you like it? Did you love it? Let me know in the comments. That's the only way that I'm going to know, all right? But until next time, my friends, it's been a pleasure, but I'm out.